Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and I'm here today to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. It's 2022, and it's finally time for me to start dropping some real content. So to find out what my goals for the channel are, and as a collector are, you'll have to check it out after this.
What the hell? Well, you failed geometry.
Alright, it's been a while. Maybe I released something at the beginning of 2022. I don't remember when my last video was, but I think it was the week of Christmas, and, you know, the holiday season was crazy. A lot of you saw on Instagram that I ended up getting diagnosed with COVID at the end of last week, even though I've been careful as hell. And it's just been rocky, so we're back. We're ready to start doing things on a regular schedule. So let's talk about some of those things. We're going to break today's video down into 3 parts. Number 1 is what my goal is for, you know, the channel as a whole throughout this year. Number 2 is to kind of give you an update on my Grail Hunt videos that I started last year and then just kind of fizzled out on, even though I picked a bunch of those things up. And then number 3 is to give you the books that I think are worth me trying to hunt for physically or virtually throughout the year. So let's get into it. Part 1 is my goals of the channel, and I've got 7 so far. The first, and I think it's the most lofty of them, is to try and get 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now I'm, you know, right around 1,100. You know, I'm going to try and do everything that I can to, you know, increase my audience, both in terms of, you know, my talking about Funko Pops, doing things with my kids, talking about comics and other elements of my collection that, you know, I want to grow the audience. That, as I've always said, you know, this has never been a 100% focal point for me, that I can't dedicate my life to doing YouTube stuff, but it's been very cathartic, right? The people I've met, the friendships that I've made, all of that kind of stuff have been very, very rewarding. That you all have been as much of a support system, mental health structure, and all of those things for me, as, you know, people have that I, you know, see on a daily or a semi-regular basis. So I want to try and increase, you know, the number of people who subscribe to and engage with that content, just so I can, you know, meet more people and continue to find other collectors around the world that are into the same kind of weird things that I am. Number 2, I got to get better at, you know, membership giveaways and drawings and things like that I need to do those. I need to make sure that I do them, you know, on the first day of every month, to do the month before, to do them during Shop Talk, to make sure I integrate them into a weekly pull video on Mondays, that kind of stuff. But I need to do that, and I need to ship faster, right? That if you all are going to, you know, go donate or subscribe or spend whatever little bit of extra money that you have to show faith in me, then I need to make sure that I'm doing that back in your direction, that I'm showing you the same kind of respect, you know, by getting things to you on time. That I know, you know, all of us don't subscribe to channels for the perks or things like that we want to kind of give a tip of the cap to the people that we enjoy their content, but I also, you know, want to make sure that I'm making good on promises that I've made. In that same vein, I want to make sure that I'm doing more to engage with the YouTube community, that I've got that community tab that I think I've made a whole 5 or 6 posts on, and it's just because it's inconvenient for me to post there, right? It's blocked while I'm at school. I can't do some of my auto social media posts to it like I get to with Buffer on Instagram and Twitter and that kind of stuff. So I want to make sure that I'm, you know, on top of the ways that I, you know, chat with people on other forms of social media, to use the integrated form here on YouTube as well. Number 4 is a content goal. I want to do more content about books or stories, about comics that I like, getting into specific pops, right? I don't want to dog on unboxing videos, right? That I've learned about a lot of cool things from unboxings, but I want to be able to utilize those kinds of videos to talk about why I picked up a book, why I decided to buy a particular box, why a pop or a comic or something like that is meaningful to me, that I want to make those more personalized instead of like, here's just another random box. And I know that we all rely on those videos. It's easy content. We all buy a lot of things. But I want to find a way to kind of put my own personal touch on some of those things. And in that same vein, I'm aware that I'm boring. I'm aware that, Eeyore didn't take his depression medication, and that I just don't have a super dynamic voice, and I don't want to come across as fake, but I want to find other ways to try and add some of that engagement factor, right? That I want to create more engaging videos, like actually learning how to use Premiere Pro or other video editing software. Maybe look at doing things like shorts, figuring out what Reels or even a TikTok is, because I know a lot of people really like those quick reviews and things like that on those platforms, so give it a try. Number 6, I need to get back to being a better member of the community. That for a long time, I was really good about watching a lot of content, about commenting on things, about being in live streams. And then I just kind of disappeared, right? That as I started listening to an audiobook, as I started getting more busy at work, that I would crank out things over here, and then I would forget to go back and engage with other members around the community. And again, that's something that I want to make sure that I'm doing to be a more active presence, right? That I want to get back to where I was at the beginning of 2021 in terms of, being in live streams, commenting on all of the videos that I could consume, even if I'm watching you during my planning period on double speed. That, again, if I'm going to have the joy of people watching me talk about God's knows what, then I need to be able to pay you all that same respect to other fellow content creators in the comic, Funko, and collector communities. The last item is creating some kind of consistency, right? That I kind of like what I do on Monday and Tuesday in terms of review and pull list videos. I like being able to drop content around 4 or 5 days a week. But I want to make sure with the live streams that people enjoy that I'm more consistent with that we do shop talk every Thursday, or communicate with why we can't, or, why it won't be around that night. The same thing with auctions, that, there were people who rely coming to hang out on Sunday night, and it would be the last minute where I'd be like, nah, I don't have the energy to do it, or it would just kind of fall apart. That I want to be more on top of those kind of interactive obligations. The same thing is true with selling things on both YouTube and whatnot, that I know some people see things that I get that they know that I don't like, that they know that I'm not into, that they know that I will sell it to you for fair price, below value, below PPG, any of that stuff. So I want to make sure I'm more consistent with those. Right now, that's where I'm at so far for my goals for this next year. Like I said, I think the loftiest is trying to hit that 3,000 subscribers, that it's going to be hell of a grind. But I think if I'm doing some of the other items below, then hopefully it gets me back on that path, that I got to my 1,000 way faster than I thought I would get, let alone thinking I would never get that high. But now I want to commit to that grind, right? That I want this to be an element of what I do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And I think these goals will help me hit that. If you have any suggestions on other things you would like me to see me do, content, community-wise, engagement, other things, let me know in the comments down below. Part 2, I want to update last year's Grail hunt. It was mostly a success for me. That I had the list broken down into 4 parts: Spider-Woman stuff, X-Men stuff, random stuff, and Warlock stuff. And for the most part, I was fairly successful. That if you look at the list, that I can't see which side of the screen I'm supposed to be pointing at where I put it, because I'm looking at my notes. But I got both of my Spider-Woman grails. I got a Marvel Spotlight 32, which is the first Jessica Drew as Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman #1, the first solo. If you look at the X-Men list, I never thought I would get a New Mutants 98, but on Shop Talk one night, I unboxed a 7.0 CBCS New Mutants 98, which is the first Deadpool, that I found at a steal. I got my first Uncanny X-Men 114 at my LCS. I was able to meet part of my Sinister goals that I got 213. I got 213. And then 266, the first Gambit, was a success that I got A-OK to reader's copy that I'm not terrified to touch or look at by Vincent McLean, the Comic Machine. And again, thank you so very much for that. And then in one of our last auctions of the year, I picked up, I think it's a 9.6, 9.4 from J. Wannabob. That book is going to go up on my wall and it's going to stay up there. Other books that I missed out on from the X-Men portion, could not find an X-Men number 6 that I was comfortable paying price for the quality, and part of that was it spiked way high because it was the third Scarlet Witch, and, you know, Scarlet Witch and Vision, that damn show, or WandaVision, shot it up way too high. The 129 to 137 is still a gaping hole in my, sub 200 collection of X-Men, that they were just too high, and that's the same with Days of Future Past. The rest of my list I was pretty successful on. For my random stuff, I got a couple of Booster Golds number 1. I got a first print Saga number 1 that I ended up trading to my buddy Cole's Comic Claim / Cole from Comic Burrito, that he's a way bigger Saga fan than I am. He had a couple of things that I wanted, so I got a 5th print, but honestly, for that series, it's good enough to me that, you know, I love it, I enjoy it. I think what Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples have done in that series is brilliant, but Cole named his daughter after a character in Saga. That would be just like, you know, if there was exclusive West Wing stuff that, you know, I had later copies of that I would hope I could trade dope things, because all 3 of my kids are named after that nerdy show. So I got those, I got my Paper Girls, couldn't find Green Lantern 85, Speedy is a drug addict, but I also didn't hunt that hard for that book that I didn't care all that much. And then from Warlock, my Warlock list, I got 2 out of 3 books there. I have my Warlock number 1, his first solo series. I have one of the first appearances of him that I got from Robot Monster Island as an A-OK. And the only book that's on this list still that is going to carry over to next year is Marvel Premiere number 1, which is the first appearance of Warlock. And that's only going to continue to go up as there's a lot of spec value surrounding those books with Warlock, him, the first first time he gets named Adam Warlock in a Fantastic Four book with all of the MCU stuff. Last part of this video, I'm going to talk about the cajillion books that I'm hunting down this year, and the list is a little bit more nuanced, but there's a common theme. My goal for 2022 is to collect the women and children first, and you'll see as we kind of work through this, those specific characters that I'm into, and, you know, some of them you know I'm into, others we'll kind of talk about as we get there. But goal number 1 is to complete my Spider-Woman run. I have less than 40 books I think I have to pick up across volumes number 1 and number 3, excluding key issues that Spider-Woman shows up in other series. So the 3 books that are on this list for me, first is Marvel 2-in-1 number 29. It's Thing and Shang-Chi. It's the second appearance of Spider-Woman in the final panel. Marvel 2-in-1 number 30, which is The Thing and Spider-Woman. This is the third appearance of Spider-Woman, or I guess maybe the second full. And then the last one is Iron Man 214, which is the debut of the new black Spider-Woman costume. And I used to have that figure sitting up over here, and then one of my kids touched it. Section number 2 of the list is Other Spider Ladies. So there are 9 books on this list. The first is Hawkeye vs. Deadpool number 0. It's the first cameo of Spider-Gwen and the first cameo of Jane Foster Thor, who I also like, but she is just below the Spider-Woman on my list. Second is Amazing Spider-Man number 9 from the Spider-Verse arc. Second Spider-Gwen. It's the first time that Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, and Silk are together. And then it's the first United States appearance of SPIDERMAN, the Japanese Spider-Man. Number 3 is Spider-Gwen 2, book number 24. It's the first Gwenum. This is a book that I did not know that I was going to want to collect, all of the Spider-Women adjacent series or, female Spider-Verse characters. Now I have seller's remorse on that book. And then the second one is Spider-Gwen 2, book number 34, where she officially becomes Spider-Gwen instead of being referred to as Spider-Woman. Next, in that same vein, Howard the Duck number 1 from 2005, 2007. It's the first Gwen pull that will give me the holy trinity of, Gwen Stacy as not Gwen Stacy, right? Gwen Stacy as not Peter Parker's love interest, but Gwen Stacy as Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, and Gwenum. Oh, and Gwenpool. The last 4 books on this list are a couple of other random Spider-Women Alpha number 1. It's the first team up of Spider-Women. The second is Amazing Spider-Man number 5. Oh, number 5 and number 14, which is the first appointment of the third Spider-Woman, or first appearance of the third Spider-Woman in Maddie Franklin. The fourth Spider-Woman in Charlotte Witter. One of the books that I know I might get priced out on is What If number 108, which is also reprinted as Spider-Girl 0. This is the first Mayday Parker as Spider-Girl, the offspring of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. And then the last one on this list is weird, but it goes with the theme of Spider Ladies. I need the old Wolverine and Old Man Logan series because at this point it's titled as both. Number 67 and 68. It's the first cameo of and the first full appearance of Spider Bitch. That sounds like me. List area number 3, I am lovingly calling Somebody Finally Watched Hawkeye. And this is where I'm probably going to have to spend a little bit of extra money to get into characters that I didn't know that I wanted to learn more about. But the first is Marvel Knights Daredevil 9 through 11, which is the first cameo and appearances and more of Echo, who is the villain turned potentially hero for season 2 of Hawkeye. We also know that Echo is getting her own Disney Plus series, so 9 through 11, 51 through 53 and 55, that gets us first fights, origin stories, all of those kinds of things. Second book from this is New Avengers number 11 from 2005. This is where it's finally revealed that Echo becomes the new Ronin. And I think that might be the direction that happens in Hawkeye, that even though, spoiler alert, the suit is burned at the end of that I think we see Ronin resurrected as Echo in that series, where we can maybe see her as both. Next is Avengers 19, 20, 114, and Giant-Sized Avengers number 2. I'm lumping all 4 of those together. It's the first and second appearance of Swordsman. Swordsman joins the Avengers and Swordsman dies. We know that the guy who is dating Kate Bishop's dad or mother, I cannot remember his actual name in this, but he is the Swordsman. So we finally got to see that he maybe might not be that terrible throughout the last 2 episodes of that series. So part of this is I'm intrigued by the character, part of it is spec. And then the last one is a big spec book. I love Linda Cardellini. I freaked out when I saw that she was, first revealed as Hawkeye's wife in the MCU films. So the big spec that, is surrounding her, and I'm not the first person to make this assumption, I need to pick up What If number 95. This is the first appearance of Mockingbird, which is who everybody thinks Linda Cardellini is going to be revealed as, either in the next series of Hawkeye or in another MCU venture that she appears in. Next up is a category of its own. It's the Young Avengers. I need the, Young Avengers number 1 from, I think it's 2005 or 2007. but it's the first appearance of the Young Avengers in terms of Kate Bishop, the Patriot, the Iron Lad, the Asgardian, and Hulkling. It's the first real appearance of Kate Bishop in comics, and I think we all know that she's gonna become the new Hawkeye in the MCU. And as Kang is growing in terms of spec, in this same book, Iron Lad is revealed to be a variant of Kang. So again, this is young characters, right? The children portion of my list that I'm interested in. But I think there's a lot of speculation value in that. And I've seen a couple of Raw #1s go for kind of cheap that I'm going to try and snag. I got a Young Avengers #1 from volume either 2 or 3. That is like the first team appearance of the new Young Avengers, but I want the OG one. And it's weird saying that something is OG from 2005. Book number 5, or category number 5 on this list, is also a singular book. It's What If Venom Possessed Deadpool. It's What If #1 from 2011. I'll put a picture on one of these sides of my head. It's the Scotty Young cover. I like Venom. I like Deadpool. This is a no-brainer to have. There's a smaller print run on these books. I think it's less than like 15,000. And it's one of those ghost books to kind of see that people kind of sit on them, right? Venom is hot. Deadpool is hot. This is somebody that I have, remorse on never trying to pick up sooner, because the value of that book has only started to go up in terms of what you're seeing it for, but either raw or slabbed. Category number 6 is the Spidey-ish category. One of the things that kind of got me hooked into this, and I really wish I would have never bought this book, I upgraded my Secret Wars #8 from like an 8.0 or an 8.4 to a 9.6. It's the green certified label, and it's because it's signed by some of the creative talent on that Secret Wars 8, and that kind of is me hooked to getting more books from the Spider-Man universe, let alone Black Suit books. But we'll get to those couple of books in a second. First is on the Spidey-ish list is Marvel Team Up number 65 and 66. This is the first cameo of and the first full appearance of Arcade. I incidentally, before recording this video, found a really dusted copy of Marvel Team Up number 66, but I want this or these two books for two reasons. Number one, Arcade is probably my favorite Spider-Man villain. That I just like the way that he can construct these universes and play all of these different games. Second reason is these two books are the first and second appearance of Captain Britain in the United States, and that's somebody that's getting some spec in terms of, do we see Captain Britain show up with the growing popularity of, Agent Carter, and then, Peggy Carter as Captain America from the What Ifs. Second book on this list, I know I can find because it's like a $5 book. It's Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys the Marvel Universe number 6. It's the first Canadian Spider-Man. So if I don't have a lot of indie stuff on this list, or a lot of things that seem super weird for me, like first Canadian Spider-Man seems like the kind of odd stuff that should be in my collection. This next section is where things get more expensive, right? I've gotten, Secret Wars number 8, but the other books where we see ties to the first or second Black Suit, or, I want Black Suit and I want symbiote books, right? I think is Secret Wars 8 technically the first symbiote? I'm going to screw this up no matter how I talk about it. But I want Amazing Spider-Man 252, which is listed as the first Black Suit Spider-Man. Marvel Team Up 141 or Spectacular Spider-Man number 90, both listed as the second Black Suit that they came out within a small window of each other. So there's some, discussion about which is really the second appearance. I don't know which side of this CGC has come down on. I've already forgotten that and didn't put it in my notes, but I think either one of those books for me will do. Or fourth book in this kind of cluster of Black Suit Spidey things is Amazing Spider-Man 258. This seems like an odd one, but it's probably, again, something that's easier to find, and this is where Reed Richards discovers that the black suit is an alien symbiote. And then I think y'all know where this is eventually progressing to. ASM 300. As someone who likes Spider-Man, as someone who likes Venom, I probably should own this book. But with other books that are on my list or other collection goals, I might be priced out of the market on this one. That it's only continuing to go up. That, you know, even cheaper, more busted copies, either in a raw or a graded form, it's just getting harder to find this book in a price that I want to pull the trigger on. So we'll see if I do it or not. That might be one of the... I'm going to save up a lot of money to try and pull the trigger on this book, because I think, aside from the you'll never afford these books at the bottom of my list, I think this is probably the most expensive on the list. Well, second most, but we'll get there in a second. Next section on the list is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That one of the reasons why I didn't buy some of the more expensive X-Men books in that, you know, what, 130 to 160 range, is in addition to buying my New Mutants 98, I finally picked up a copy of TMNT #1. Granted, it's the fifth printing, but picking up one of those kind of commits me to wanting to get more of these keys from my childhood, right? My kids love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm not going to be the kind of person who it's like, I'm going to buy all these books for my kid. But if they can see that we're, you know, excited about the same thing, then as they continue to age and Dad continues to get more uncool and more midlife crisis-y, Turtles is, you know, needs to be something that could still be that connecting thread for a while. So, I've got four... I'm trying to count like a turtle. I got 4 books on this section of the list. The first is getting a printing of TMNT #2, which is the first Baxter Stockman, the first classic Mousers, which we all hate from the first Nintendo game, and the first appearance of April. Number 2 is to get a first or second print of RAPHAEL #1. This is the first Casey Jones. This is another book that I had a second printing that I picked up for way too good of a deal and flipped it, and then was like, oh shit, I might like Turtles. Third goal is to get another clean copy of TMNT Adventures #1. At the end of the year, I sold my 9.6 that was signed by Kevin Eastman, but I was in an auction, it was hot. I picked up a bunch of other minor keys for me that aren't on this list, but I'll talk about them when I get them. Although I did sell that book because I picked up a signed Stan Lee book and cried about it, and we'll talk about that eventually. So getting another clean copy of that, I don't care if it's signed or remarked or anything like that. I've got a Last Ronin #1 that is signed and remarked. It's a 9.4, which is good is good enough for me there. The last goal on this section is going to be an expensive long road. Like I said, I picked up my TMNT #1. It was a 5th printing. I got it from Pops & Sons for a really, really good deal. The only way I will ever sell my TMNT #1, aside from if I die and my kids and wife are liquidating my collection / dropping it off at Goodwill, is the goal to slowly upgrade. I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford a first print, right? So right now, the goal for 2022 is to upgrade to a 4th or hopefully a 3rd. And I'm not going to do that until I can, you know, sell the book below it. That I want to be able to buy and sell at the same time, just so I can transfer that money across and not get distracted. And then the last section of this list that I'm calling the LOL, ain't gonna afford it. Arcade, hands down, #1 favorite Spider-Man villain. Second favorite villain, Kraven, ASM 15. Probably never going to afford it because I think high grade copies of this book are going for like, I think it was $10,000 what I saw. I don't remember. COVID brain, drinking brain, having little kids brain. It's nice to have an unattainable goal where it's like, I missed that one. And then the second is ASM 50, the first Kingpin. These are two books that I know I eventually want to have in my collection. I don't even care if they're like a 0.5, where it's like everything is barely hanging on. But as someone who has fallen in and out of love with Spider-Man, but kind of ultimately decided that this is a character that's kind of shaped me as a collector, as a human being, as my home or Marvel character that's next to the X-Men, I feel like both of those need to be on my list of, like, I'm going to look out for deals on them, that if I can find them and they force me to be fiscally responsible as a collector, then I'll put them on the list. My final goal that's not find this book is get all my stuff in CLZ. The number of things that I've discovered that I have that I didn't know that I had is depressing. So making sure that I get all of my short boxes in, all of my slabs in, all of that in on CLZ, so I'm not overbuying myself on books is something that's probably also important. So that's it. Very long video. So if you hung around, I appreciate you. But those are goals for me, goals for the channel for the next year. So let me know what you think about channel goals, about things that I should pick up, good places that I can hunt, you know, online, any of that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments down below. But Happy New Year. Stay safe. That Rona ain't no fun. Sabity Bunny is hanging out with his new evil partner in crime of Baby Octo that I got from Sans Group. Big Octo's hanging out on the bed over there. They're keeping an eye on me. They're keeping an eye on you. But as always, y'all, thanks for stopping by. And have a good one.
What the hell? Well, you failed geometry.